some good news there. Well, now, anyone who uses a bus or train will know all about that endless battle for the disabled space between those on wheelchairs and those using buggies. Well, one woman who lives with a form of dwarfism got caught up in that battle. Comedian Tanya Lee Davis says that she was reduced to tears after a train guard refused to let her use a disabled space for her mobility scooter so that her mother could use it instead for her pram. Here's how it unfolded.
I'm being forced to move out of my wheelchair space because of the wheelchair.
Well, it's her husband that filmed this struggle to navigate the scooter and their luggage as they tried to tell the conductor of Tanya Lee's rights. It began to get pretty emotional.
I thought the laws of this country just took care of disabled people before they did a baby pram.
Really, this much trouble? Really? So I have to sit in the vestibule when the wheelchair space was not reserved.
Yeah, I understand that.
No, she has to do it all the time.
I apologise.
So what's the difference? The law is in her favor.
Yes, well, the drama continued until finally the couple were humiliated even further when their conductor announced to the whole train the reason why they were being delayed.
Stay out here.
Our video may have taken photos of me saying I'm going to be all over the internet. So this train will be delayed at Taunton until this matter is resolved. Thank you.
We are now getting kicked off the train because I refused to move for a baby pram, and we were videotaping the drive. And Kevin got up with them, and now we're being kicked off the train.
Well, after the incident, Tanya Lee posted her thoughts and her feelings on social media.
And I'm sick of this, having to deal with this all the time. I don't know what it is about this country. I mean, they really make you feel disabled. Just trying to make a living. I'm trying to make people laugh.
Well, Tanya Lee is with me now. Tanya Lee, oh, I can see your eyes just welling up right now, still so emotional. I mean, what happened that night in the end?
Well, we got delayed about 25, 30 minutes, and we ended up missing our connection as well, going home to Norwich. So by the time we got home, you know, it was just, I was taking to Facebook and telling my friends about it. And,
sweetheart.
You know, people saw that I started posting the videos, and people were like, thank you. You know, you should, instead of trying to type out everything, why don't you make another video? And I thought, okay, well, you know. And so I just thought, okay, I'm going to say as is and, you know, just cut to the facts. But then when I'm a very emotional person. I'm a very passionate person. And so I get put back in that situation, and immediately like you well up because it was so degrading, and I felt worthless, and that's not me. I'm a very strong woman.
Well, anybody would do, Tanya Lee, despite how strong people are. I mean, in the end, the guard threatened to call the police. Is that right?
Yeah, because we were standing our ground, and Kevin, you know, was raising his voice, and because he has a rather strong American accent as well, I think this guard thought, you know, you're probably just tourists. You don't have a clue what was really going on here, that we had no recourse. And that's the big thing with this country. You don't typically have a lot of recourse, and especially if you're a foreigner. But, you know, that's why very thankful that we actually got this on video, because it would not have, you know, gained all this momentum if people actually, you know, hadn't seen what was, and heard what was going on.
I mean, when you did that video, just talking about how you were treated, what happened, one of the things you said that once again, you know, this is happening in the UK. Where is it that people in the UK are getting it wrong when it comes to dealing with people living with disabilities?
Yeah, well, first off, I want to say I've been working here for 15 years. I've only been living here for 2. And you know, I've been going back and forth, and because I use public transport so much, this isn't an isolated incident. It has been going on forever. And it's a lot of attitudes, not just with transport, but taxi drivers as well. Just in general, a lot of people are quite rude to people with disabilities. And I just don't understand. It's this bullying mentality. And that's why I'm part of Great As You Are, which is formerly an anti-bullying campaign, but we're focusing on kindness, and it's teaching young children to be confident with themselves and stand up for themselves. And so it was that moment when I was you know, when this was happening, that I said to Kevin, grab the video camera, because I'm telling my kids, as great as you are, I'm standing up for myself. Enough is enough, and we're going to document this, and, you know, get it out there, because that's people only respond to that. I'm not that type of person that usually videotapes stuff, but clearly it was the right thing to do in this sense.
Indeed, well, it did get a response. We actually also contacted Great Western Railway, the train operator, and this is what they told us.
It's ensuring our colleagues have the right skills and the right training to give the best journey possible to our customers. And an event like last Sunday just never happens again.
Yes, how do you feel about the operator? How do you feel about that guard who kicked you off?
Well, I mean, clearly he messed up. There is no question about it, and I hope he does get reprimanded. However, from what I've understood, he's receiving death threats, and it's getting really out of hand. So I'm appealing to anybody, my fans and the people that are supporting me, is, you know, I a million times appreciate that, but don't put your energy into negative stuff. This is, we're taking a negative situation and turning it into a positive. And so instead of attacking this guard or the train line, support me by getting on the Scooter Girl campaign or social media, and let's all band together. And it's not just people in scooters. I mean, that's my fight. But in general, I mean, there's a lot of hidden disabilities that's come up in topics and stuff like that. And it's just, it's a respect thing.
I mean, look, clearly what the guard did was so wrong. Seriously needs some training. Doesn't deserve death threats, but needs some training of some kind. But what should he have done? Because I understand that the mother, she had a buggy, but she couldn't carry the child. Her arm, she'd injured her arm, is that right? So she was struggling, so she said. Yeah. So who should have given that priority there? And what if it was a wheelchair user as well?
Well, before I actually got on the train that day, because there was only one wheelchair space on this, it was a particularly old train. GWR has brand new trains that has loads of space. But this one just had no space whatsoever in standard, so the only space was in first class. And it's very narrow, but with my small scooter was able to maneuver. But before I got on the train, they said, it's not reserved. However, if a wheelchair user comes on, you're the one that's going to have to get off, because it's you're not a wheelchair, you have a scooter, not a wheelchair, so they're not classified the same thing. So then there's a hierarchy. So I was already on the back foot getting on the train, and then things calmed down and we moved on, and then this woman comes on. She carried her child with her bad arm. I mean, she had it in not a cast or whatever, but, you know, bandaged somehow. And so she carried the child because they had to pick the pram up, and I think she thought Kevin was the disabled person, and he didn't look disabled, so she kind of was like, that's my seat, that's my seat. And he was in a non-reserved seat that happened to be in front of the wheelchair space. And so what should have happened was, you know, I understand she didn't want to hold her baby, and perhaps he was sleeping. She did have a car seat, like a carrier seat, underneath the pram. I think a reasonable alternative would say, I'll keep the pram in the vestibule, but I'll put the child in the car seat and then put him on the table, or put him in the wheelchair spot with me, or, you know, Kevin would gladly give up a seat for anybody. I think that would have been reasonable, but the fact that she felt entitled, and the guard went with it, and that's what really ticked me off, was because I just kept saying, why? Why is this happening?
Tanya Lee, you're not alone with this. As I said, this is an endless battle. I can only assume that the answer here is just providing better provisions, better trains, more up-to-date trains and buses as well. But Tanya Lee Davis, really good talking to you. Thanks so much for coming.
Appreciate it.